My name is Ted Fleischer. I live here in Lowell at the base of Lowell Mountain, and I've got a great view of that ridgeline right there from my house that I built, and I love very much. And I moved to this state nearly 2 decades ago because of the ridgelines, and because of the scenery, and because of the people that are here. From a state that heated with or generated electricity with coal. And in part, the reason that I left was because the companies would come through, they would strip the sides of mountains to get to a 1-foot deep vein of coal to fire the coal plants that were west of us. Then as they did that, the acid rain, or the emissions that came out of the smokestacks would then come back over us and dump acid rain. And it destroyed deer hunting, it destroyed turkey, it destroyed trout, it destroyed all sorts of stuff. I've gone back now 20 years later to these same areas. People are living there, but there's nothing growing. Honestly, there is a red hillside of rock, and that's it. Everything washed down and away because there was no growth. Had I to choose between some windmills, albeit they're large, 747 size, and the entire side of Mountain Strip Mine to create some energy, hands down, I would choose that. And it does not benefit me except from a resident of Lowell and perhaps benefiting my tax rate, which I pay dearly for a view of that mountain and of JP. But it doesn't benefit me. In energy because my house is all off-grid, which I've worked extremely hard for as well. And what some folks I gather just haven't learned yet is that we have a battery bank in our house. And we have micro hydro, we have solar, and we have wind. And in this state, it's doing one of them. And so when it's doing one, it's putting energy into the bank, into the batteries. And when we need it, we get it. And what happens when you have a large grid, which Mr. Holquist, I believe, spoke about, that works like a battery bank. And so you have this energy going in from renewable resources that, as he said, can shut down gas generators. I rarely have to run mine anymore. So my question, though, to get back to the strip mining, because I would hate to see that happen here, those folks just left when they were done. And my question is there going to be something set up in place so that when the decommission comes, whether it's 20, 40, 60 years from now, what's set up so that we know that it's going to go back to the view that we see now, and we're not going to have some sort of just absolute ecological disaster?
But one thing they're going to tell you the other advantage of having a project that's being done by your local utilities. You heard Mary say that they've been around for over 100 years. We've been here since 1938 when the rural electrification program began. We're going to be here 50, 100 years from now when those things have to come down. So it's not like you've got what's called a merchant power plant or a third-party developer that can disappear. You know, someone's here that you can hold accountable for. And give one of them.
Two things on that. One, we've stated on the tax policy that we're working with Lowell that we will pay taxes for property until the towers are decommissioned and removed. So we have somewhere north of $400,000 a year incentive to get those taken down and removed once they're no longer generating. The other piece is that we're regulated by the state, and the state can tell us to do whatever they like. When they tell us that we have to take them down, that's what we have to do. We're a little bit different than your merchant generator who can run away and go hide in Connecticut or somewhere else. We're here for the long haul, and the state controls what we do.
After you take the towers down, are you going to also remove the concrete pads, the buildings, the roads, or is it going to be like the radar station in Strangers in the Kingdom?
No, we would remove the concrete foundation. The decommissioning we have worked out with the landowners. We would remove the concrete foundations down to 2 feet below the existing grade, and then recover it with natural ground. We would remove everything coming down the hill as well.
With the fact, barring some new invention like cold fusion in the next 20, 25 years, once this thing's been put together, and if in 20 years we appreciate wind and we still want wind, now the next phase of the project will be even less expensive than this one because of all the upfront permitting work that's been done. So really, you got either way as a membership, you got a decision to make, 20 or 30 years down.
I have here a letter from the people in Mars Hill to the people in Lowell. And I would actually like to read it. It takes about 5 minutes. But the highlight for me is it says that many in the acoustic and medical communities are calling for a 1.5-kilometer or greater setback for industrial wind turbines from homes, schools, and medical facilities for reasons of health and well-being. Proper setbacks are the only way to provide protection. And you mentioned 3,000 feet. This is about 5,000 feet, especially downwind, which I believe is probably towards Albany, if I imagine that, yes. So could you address that? Why don't you use 5,000 feet if that's what the Mars Hill people, who are really, they're suing. They hate the wind farm. It's ruined their lives.
Well, the 3,000 feet I mentioned is from Mars Hill. That was the limit of the complaints that were coming from the noise issues. So the data you're referring to is a quote of many acousticians or medical professionals. It's really not true. I think there's one person in the noise control arena who's essentially makes his living opposing wind farms that's promoting that. And there's Nina Chupon, who's, I think that's the other person in the medical community that they're referring to. But it's not based on any sort of dose-response studies. It's not they don't say, oh, the levels are going to be this much, this far away. It's sort of based on an anecdotal, anecdotal evidence that somebody somewhere had a sleep problem this distance away under some unknown circumstance. But when you look at the literature, you look at many homes, you look at statistical analysis of people who live around wind farms, there's certainly a very strong correlation between sound levels and health effects like sleep disturbance. And that's what we're basing our setbacks on, essentially the safe sound levels. And those can change depending on, or the sound levels, if you hear, will change depending on the turbine spacing, the turbine that you purchase. Essentially, they have different sound levels. So saying, that essentially a couple of people say that you should have 1.1 per setback isn't really based on science. And essentially the approach that we're taking is going to assure that the levels here are below the scientifically based safe sound levels.
I'm wondering, and maybe somebody could tell me, Green Mountain Power is the company that's charged or going to be building this plant, or is it Kingdom Wind LLC? Which one is it? Not Kingdom Power.
The name of the project is Kingdom Community Wind, but as we've been trying to describe, it is unlike some other projects we've seen, even in the past by some utilities. It's not as an unregulated subsidiary merchant generation. It's part of the utility infrastructure. So we're proposing that it would be part of the regulated rate base of Green Mountain Power.
Thank you. I know Enogen owns Vermont Yankee. Vermont Yankee was owned by people that we could control. Enogen now wants to sell off to another company, and I wonder out loud, why do you think Enogen would want to sell out to another company, an LLC company? Well, it's because the new company that's buying it from Enogen isn't worth 10 cents. And the liabilities are worth millions. So we could all get stuck paying the bill to clean up Vermont Yankee if we aren't very careful. But you're telling me that Green Mountain Power has no intentions of ever selling off Kingdom Wind to an LLC who could then say, well, Lowell, you've got the towers, but we have no money to take them down. You're going to have money in the kitty to deal with all this, right?